Hey there everybody, it's Brian and welcome back to my kitchen. And you know what, I am sorry that I have not done a video in so long. Things have been very busy. If you don't know what my second job is, I sell cars for a Honda dealership. So check out the other channel if you want, Auto Guy Bry. I'll put that in the description down below. A card up here, I don't know, something like that. Anyways, click on it and go to it. So today, in this video for Brian's Kitchen, we are making one of the meals that we make very often in my household. That is called a hash, and in light of everything that's happening right now, we're calling it the lockdown hash because we're all locked down because of COVID-19. So, I don't know if this happened to you, but I got laid off the other day, and so I got nothing else to do besides make videos for you. So this should be a very interesting week, to say the least. So what we're going to start with is, as you can see in my hash, here's the beauty of a hash, is that when you don't really need to have exact things involved, like a hash is really involving potatoes as the main source, but as you can see, what I'm adding here is I'm going to add some mushrooms, some green onions, some spinach, some red bell pepper here, and a few eggs. And honestly, it's one of those types of meals that you could make with anything that's in your refrigerator. This is going to be one of those times where we're locked in, we're not really supposed to go out anywhere, and I got to use whatever's left in my refrigerator. So what we're doing, going to use whatever's left in my refrigerator and just make a meal out of it. So the first things first, we got to preheat the oven. So we're going to go over here and we're going to preheat to 450. So that's going to start going. Also, must have is a cast iron skillet. If you don't have one of these, I suggest you get one of these. At least go out and buy one of those. Maybe your grandmother has one laying around in her house that she doesn't use anymore. So, got to have a cast iron skillet because we're going to be putting this whole skillet in the oven at 450 degrees. Let's start off now, just so you're aware, I did wash all these. I just didn't feel I needed to film all this of me washing vegetables. I assume you already know how to do that. So, let's get started. So, these are the little miniature potatoes. And again, there is no measuring with this recipe. It's just kind of whatever you got, throw it in there and hope for the best kind of thing. That's the beauty of this. There's really not a lot of measuring. So I'm just going to take my potatoes and I'm going to cut them into small bite-sized pieces here. Just like that. And depending on how big the potatoes are, you decide on how big of a bite-sized chunk you want. I kind of try to do them in the same size for each piece. But one thing that's really nice about these little potatoes is that once they're actually cooked, they're very, very creamy and very, I don't know, it's just very satisfying eating these potatoes because I love the creamy texture that they give. And also, it adds a whole little brightness of color to the dish. As you can see, like I got red and yellow potatoes here. I know the chefs that are watching this show right now are cringing at the way I'm cutting things because you think I'm going to cut my fingers off. And, well, you're probably right. But you should see the way my wife cuts. She cuts like this. Scares the daylights out of me every time. But, you know, I'm at least being mindful of how I'm cutting right now. Not to mention, always have a sharp knife. Sharper the knife, the better it is. One, because you don't got to do so much work going through the vegetables. You can just cut with ease. And, you know, if by some chance you accidentally chop off one of your fingers, it's going to go right through, just like a carrot. So you probably won't even notice it at first. You'll just notice all the blood. And that's great for a cooking show. Let's talk about that some more. Brian, way to go. You want them to be somewhat the same size, mainly because you want them to all cook evenly. You don't want any hard potatoes mixed with some of the softer potatoes. It's just not enjoyable to eat. There we go, my last potato. Okay, so I'm going to throw all these back in the bowl here. Yes, I washed my hands, just so you're all aware. Don't give me messages saying, did you wash your hands? Did you do this or that? Yes, I did. So, let's turn on our oven here. Wrong burner. Burn the house down. We're going to turn on this burner, get this all heated up, and then we're going to throw in a little bit of oil here. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Now I don't normally use this stuff for frying things and whatnot. I usually use avocado oil, but I just don't happen to have any right now, so I'm using olive oil. And I don't like to heat it up too much because I heard that's bad for you. So we're going to use a little bit here. I'd say it's probably a tablespoon or two inside. We're going to let that warm up a bit. Then we're going to dump in our potatoes. Now, as you can see, the cast iron skillet is smoking, and this is what you want to see. That means it's hot, and that's how you want this skillet to be. So take your potatoes, dump them in. And we're going to grab a little bit of salt and pepper as well. And get those seasoned up. Always season your vegetables. Doesn't matter what you put in there. Season your food. Don't be like the Dutch and just boil everything. Put some salt and pepper in there. Have fun with it. And again, I'm not really measuring. I'm just making sure that everything is coated with stuff. I'm going to grab my little thing here, and we're going to kind of do one of these. Toss everything around and let them cook. Now, while those are cooking, we're going to come back over here and we're going to chop up the rest of our vegetables. Let's start off with my mushrooms here. I like to just quarter my mushrooms because I don't like it when my mushrooms are in slices. I don't know if you're like this, but I'm a little picky about the way my vegetables are cut up. So when I'm making a soup or something like that, I don't like the onion in my soup to be very finely chopped. What I like to have is I like to have chunks of onion, not huge chunks, but you know, bite-sized pieces of onion. And similarly, I like my mushrooms to be either quartered or whole or halved. I don't particularly enjoy sliced mushrooms unless it's in a sauce or something. So these are just regular white mushrooms. Some of the other mushrooms that I really like to use in this dish are the cremini mushrooms, which are, I guess, like another form of shiitake mushroom, just not as big, obviously, but the cremini ones are really nice. And they tend to hold their shape really well when you cook them. These ones will shrink down a little bit, the white ones. But that's okay. That's why I'm making them bigger chunks so they don't shrink down too much. Too much. Too. I am immature. Just so you know. I have little kids and we talk about poop and farts all the time. Proud dad moment. My wife, on the other hand, behind the camera, is just smirking at me. Because she knows that she can't escape all the poop and fart jokes that we make on a daily basis around here. But she loves us, doesn't she?
I do.
Success! Now the way I like to do this is once I'm done cutting up all of my mushrooms and whatnot, I kind of go in stages. So while my potatoes are frying over there, I'm going to cut up all the mushrooms, and then once I'm done with all the mushrooms, I'm going to go and toss the potatoes around a little bit so they get more evenly coated and so that they can cook on all the sides. So now I'm done with my mushrooms. Let's go and toss the potatoes around. And this is what you want to see. You want to see them starting to brown on all the sides. You see like that? Starting to brown. If you see white, try and flip them over or whatever, but it doesn't have to be perfect right now, but just try and, you know, toss them around. Make sure everything gets evenly cooked. I always try to, I don't know, something weird about me. I always try to make sure everything is touching the surface, like it's all going to be flat and even all the way around. You don't have to do it this way, but I just like everything to cook evenly, and if I see little white bits, I try to flip them over, make sure that they all get cooked. Okay, so I'm going to leave those for now, and we're going to go back over and we're going to cut up another vegetable. Okay, red pepper time. Chop up the red pepper. I'm going to use another bowl. split that in. Spinach. Here. And again, bite-sized chunks is how I like it. You don't want them too big. This usually makes enough for, I'd say, my wife and I. We eat pretty big portions of it or whatever because we really like it, but you could definitely split this up between you and a couple other friends. It'll definitely make enough to serve 4 normal human beings and 2 huge beings like myself that are rather large. My wife doesn't ever finish hers, ever, because when we split it in half, she's always got at least half of it left over for the next day. So it's good. You can put it in the fridge and just reheat it again the next day, and it's just as good. We're going to go back over, check on my potatoes again, make sure those are all cooking. Everything seems to be browning nicely. If you see any pieces that are still white looking or raw looking, just flip them. Make sure that they are getting cooked. Nothing worse than taking a nice big bite into a potato and it being raw. It's gross. See how nice and brown they're getting, the golden brown. Don't burn them. I'm going to let this go for another minute or two. They're almost done, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these into the bowl again so that they can continue to just be set aside and cook on their own over here without being on actual heat. Let's go back over here and we're going to just chop up my green onion. Now, depending on how you like your onion, I like my onion in bigger chunks, but you can do finer chop if you want. I prefer to do about there. Just kind of, it reminds me of like Thai food when they give you like rather larger chunks of it. And I go right until you see the white. Once you get to the white part of it, I just throw that part away. But I try to use as much of this as possible. And again, green onion is pretty strong, so I'm not using a lot here. It's just enough to flavor it and give it some extra texture and whatnot. And I'm going to save this until last. I'm going to put it on the very end, right before it goes into the oven. Cool? So I think we're ready to take the potatoes out. I always like to line my bowl with a paper towel just so it can soak up any grease that might be in the pan still. Let's do this here. There we go. Don't forget, even though we're setting these aside, it's still going to cook on the inside here. You see how golden brown they are, though? You don't see any raw white parts anymore. It's just nicely, evenly cooked. And then this paper towel is going to soak up any excess grease that there might be laying around there. Now the pan, it's still nice and hot. We're going to add a little bit more oil to it. Maybe another tablespoon or so. Now it's time to add the vegetables. I'm going to grab those. You stay there. Red pepper. Mushrooms. And of course, season your vegetables like I told you. And I used red peppers. Like I had green and orange and yellow peppers in my fridge, but I like to just mix up the colors a little bit. I've already got green spinach and green onion, so I decided let's throw in a little bit of red bell pepper. Sometimes we use cherry tomatoes instead of the red bell pepper. I'll use a yellow bell pepper and throw in red cherry tomatoes. And then of course we got spinach, which is the green part. And then your potatoes are yellow as well. Oop, one went flying. That is frying up nicely. One last vegetable. We're going to throw in a whole bunch of spinach. Just like that. Now the spinach, although it looks like there's a lot of spinach, Actually, I'm going to throw in a little more because we like spinach. The spinach is going to wilt down quite a bit, so we're going to throw in a little bit more. And I know that looks like a lot, but you're literally going to barely be able to see the spinach when I'm done. This is very much a game of finesse. You don't want to be throwing around the spinach all over the place, otherwise it gets everywhere. And it's irritating. But as you can see, as I wait, and as I toss, some of the water gets released from the spinach and starts steaming itself, essentially. If you can only see what it smells like, or I guess you can't see what things smell like, but if you can only smell what we're smelling on this side, yeah, it is very good. So as you can see, like, there's not nearly as much spinach anymore, right? It's wilted down quite a bit. I'm going to grab my green onion, and we're going to toss those in. Let them cook up for another second or two. We're not doing it for very long. You're just putting it in for... We're sauteing here. Sauteing doesn't take long. It takes a couple minutes. And, you know, once I see my spinach has wilted down enough, I'm usually pretty comfortable with that. And then I can add my potatoes back in. I'll pour my potatoes in there. Here we are. And what I like to do is I like to turn off the heat at this point just so it's not cooking anymore. And because we're going to be throwing this into the oven right now, and you're like, well, why would we throw it into the oven if it's already cooked? Well, there's one reason. We've got eggs we want to put on here, so we're going to add the eggs right now. Now, as I've done this a lot, what I like to do is I like to create these little pockets, because I'm a visual kind of person, so I like egg, 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 egg. So I like it to be like looking like a one-sided die, I guess. So I like to make a little hole for each of them so it's kind of like even. One in the middle here, and I like to make another one where the egg can sit, another one over here where it can sit as well. So let's add some eggs. Come on. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Nothing worse than raw egg on your hand. Where's the other hole? Right there. Beautiful. Okay. One in the middle. And then two on the sides. So we get one right over here. Beauty. And one over here. So now that we got our eggs there, it's time to toss this thing in the oven. Actually, before we do that, let's season the eggs real quick. A little bit of salt. And then, maybe I'm going overboard with the salt and pepper, but I'm not putting as much as you think I am down. It's still going to taste great, as we do this all the time and I know what I'm doing. Let's throw this in the oven. Okay, so now that is going to be on at 450, and we're going to set it for exactly 8 minutes. Start timer. And away we go. And 8 minutes later, deliciousness will ensue. That beep means we're done. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, looking mighty good indeed. I just gotta move this back a little. Yeah. Little tight quarters in here, but we're gonna turn this oven off here. Here we are. Bring this right out front. Have a look at that. Now that is sexy. So you can see how my eggs are still kind of like jiggly on the top there. And everything's nicely cooked. And now what we're going to do is just start scooping. Scoop it out, put it in the bowl, I like to break it so that the egg yolk kind of runs a little bit. By the way, these bowls are the best. These are what you call faux bowls. And faux bowls, yeah, I don't care how I say faux. I'm going to say it any way I want to say it. Nothing you can do about it. Pho are rather large bowls for that soup, that Vietnamese soup that everyone loves so much. And, well, let's just say they are awesome. And everyone should own a set of these bowls because they're big, they hold a lot of food. Gonna get every last little bit here. My scooping skills are not amazing, but they will do. There we go. Have a look at that, would you? Now, one of the things that I love to add to my dish is some chili garlic sauce. Now, this stuff here, chili garlic sauce, you find that in the Asian section in your grocery store. It has a little rooster on there. It is one of my favorite things to add to a dish like this. You don't want to use too much because it's very spicy, but it's not over the top. You know, it's not like you're on Hot Ones and you're going to be like sweating bullets or anything. I don't know what the Scoville unit is on this, but I like to throw a couple little teaspoons in here just to give it a little bit of kick, as you can see like I did here. And then I just mix it around a little. Mix it around with the egg. Normally my eggs are a little more runny because I use a gas stove, but today I had my electric stove. And there we go. Let's have a taste, shall we? Yeah, that's good. Get a little bit of egg, a little bit of spinach, a little bit of the bell pepper. You get a little bit of everything. And it's awesome. And this is going to fill me up. Well, it'll fill me up for a couple hours. It'll fill my wife up for half a day. But it's awesome. And hey, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming to visit me while you're in lockdown too. And if you liked what you saw here and you want to see more, just hit that subscribe button. Hit the little bell notification so whenever I upload something new, you'll actually get notified about it. And don't forget to like the video. It helps out a lot. Comment. Tell me what you would change. I'm not going to put any music to it because too many people complained about the music in my last ones. So enjoy this meal. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.